Somewhere in the world, there's a capital city built for millions but remains a ghost town. And this project is not alone. Countries have wasted billions on megaprojects that were never even used. On this episode of Built a Billion, we'll look at some of the most useless megaprojects in the world. If you want to hear about all of the megaprojects of the world, please subscribe to us and leave a like. Also, be sure to leave your thoughts about these useless megaprojects in the comments below. Number 4. Ciudad Real Central Airport, Spain. Spain is a key travel destination of the world. The Ciudad Central Real Airport was supposed to be the go-to destination in Spain and an alternative to the already crowded airport in Madrid. It included one of the top 5 longest runways in Europe, with plans to boost the airport to a 10 million capacity annually, all costing $1.3 billion to complete. In 2012, however, the company behind the project filed for bankruptcy. Why? The airport has the word central in its name, but the location sucked, as it was 200 kilometers away from Madrid. So within the first year of opening, the airport only had one small airline doing business with it. All the major airlines wanted to carry out flight operations from the capital, and no passengers wanted to go so far out of their way by landing at that airport. The company was $350 million in debt by 2012, and the airport was put up for auction by 2013. The airport was then sold to new owners in 2019 after receiving a disrespectful $12,000 offer in an auction. When COVID hit, new opportunities arose, and the new owners reinvented the airport as a home for grounded airplanes. By August 2020, there were 65 airplanes parked there, with expansions underway for up to 300 aircraft. But after the pandemic, this airport remains hilariously useless today. Number 3. Naypyidaw, Myanmar. This mega project is the new capital of Myanmar, built from the ground up. The former military leadership started secretly building a new capital in 2002. Building new capitals isn't unheard of, but keeping it secret is a little weird. By 2005, the leader of Myanmar announced the city, but still kept the name a secret for 4 months, until he revealed it to be Naypyidaw, or the king's residence. The main reason for the new capital is the fact that the former capital is home to 7 million people and has reached its infrastructural limits, with its population set to double by 2050. Also, the capital city was only placed on the coast to benefit the British, as it was set up during British rule. Therefore, it made sense to relocate the capital to a more central location. It has cost $4 billion so far, with luxury hotels, a 20-lane highway, golf courses, and museums to boast. So what's missing? Just the people. The new capital is home to less than 1 million residents, most of whom already lived in the suburban areas. There are little health facilities, economic opportunities, and lack of educational institutions, which means no one wants to live here. It's a ghost town, so on the bright side, traffic isn't a nightmare. The airport can handle 3.5 million passengers per year, but a busy day only sees 12 people come through it. The city still has time for redemption, as it is technically a city of the future. They just need some economic development and care for its institutions. They missed that part of the manual, obviously. Number 2. Forest City, Malaysia. The Forest City is a green, futuristic smart city on 4 artificial islands built around an artificial forest. On paper, it looks good, as its location near Singapore makes the city an attractive investment. Singapore has the world's second largest port in the world and is one of the richest countries in the world. And the Forest City has already been linked to Singapore by a bridge that will make the commute just 20 minutes. The city features buildings with green rooftops and vertical gardens to give off a jungle atmosphere. The streets have a lower level for traffic and parking, and an upper level with parks, transport hubs, and sports facilities. It's completely powered with renewable energy and is slated to be completed by 2035 to the tune of $100 billion. One of the islands is close to completion with golf courses, apartments, and beaches, so what could go wrong? Well, the project is burdened by political and economic hurdles. The construction is being funded by China, giving Chinese residents free passes to the city at early phases of construction. So, the wealthy Chinese investors who couldn't afford rising Chinese property prices bought up 80% of the property in Forest City by 2018. And by the time they were done, The street signs were in Mandarin and the Malaysian people couldn't afford the apartments because the prices were set according to the Chinese market. This caused unrest, and the people called it a new form of colonialism, forcing the prime minister to ban the ability for foreigners to own property in Forest City. So in turn, many investors left, and new investors were discouraged from doing business there. Then, the pandemic caused further investors to back out, and the laying off of many workers in the new city occurred. Moreover, Forest City is designed for 700,000 people, but today only 2,000 people call it home. Today, due to political and economic challenges, the $100 billion city is one of the most useless megacity projects in the world. Number 1. Yucca Mountain Nuclear Waste Repository. Let's start by stating that if nuclear waste isn't stored properly, it can be more deadly than Putin. Today, nuclear waste is stored above ground near the nuclear power plants that create it. But the scientists of the world agree that the safest place to store it is underground. In the 1980s, Yucca Mountain in Nevada was decided as the best option for a site because it was away from the population and close to the USA's most used nuclear testing site. The plan was to put the country's waste in a tunnel complex 300 meters under Yucca Mountain. The mountain is made of volcanic ash, which allows the mountain to absorb radioactive waste without cracking, but Nevada wasn't with it. The general public and congressional reps vehemently argued the idea of being the only nuclear dumping site in the country. That's right, Nevada, know your worth. Also, the opposition questioned the site of the repository as running the risk of contaminating a nearby water source. But none of that mattered as the project was approved in 2002. But by the time Obama was in office, the issue had become highly politicized, leading the administration to deem the project unworkable in 2010, cutting its funding. 3 years later, it was given the go-ahead again, but there's been little progress, with Joe Biden finally stating that the Yucca Mountain project is no longer a priority. Nevada won, 4 decades and $17 billion later, rendering the Yucca Mountain project one of the most useless mega projects the world has ever seen. What do you think? Do any of these have a chance at being used in the future? Or are they doomed to an eternity of uselessness? Let me know in the comments below. I've also done plenty of other videos on mega projects, so be sure to click that video on the screen to watch something you haven't seen. And thanks for visiting Built a Billion.